Okay, let's tackle one of the biggest, most fundamental questions out there. Why are some countries incredibly rich while others remain trapped in poverty? To help us unpack this, we're turning to the landmark book Why Nations Fail by Daron Acemoglu and James Robinson. It offers a powerful and honestly pretty radical explanation.
So what is it? Is it about geography, culture? Maybe leaders just don't know the right policies to enact? Well, the authors argue it's none of those things. The real answer, they say, is something much more concrete, and it all starts with a single fence on the U.S.-Mexico border.
Right, so let's head down to that border. We're going to a place that is, for all intents and purposes, one city, but it's been literally cut in half by a line on a map. This place is called Nogales, and it gives us our first and most powerful clue in this entire puzzle.
Just look at the difference. It's staggering. North of that fence, in Nogales, Arizona, the average household income is about $30,000. Life expectancy is high, roads are paved, you've got reliable healthcare and law and order. But step just a few feet south into Nogales, Sonora, and that income plummets to about a third of its northern neighbor. Life is just harder, crime is higher, public services are worse, and its politics have been historically dominated by corruption.
And here's the kicker. The people are the same. They share the same ancestry, eat the same food, listen to the same music. The geography is identical, the climate, the diseases, all the same. So you see, all the usual suspects we hear about, culture, geography, they just don't explain this. Something else is going on.
And that's the big reveal. The difference isn't the people, and it isn't the place. It's the rules. It's the institutions. That border separates two completely different sets of rules that govern people's lives, and that one difference explains everything.
Acemoglu and Robinson basically argue that you can understand the entire arc of world history by looking at the clash between two different types of institutions, or rules of the game. They call them inclusive and extractive. First up, you've got inclusive economic institutions. Think of these as rules that are set up for everyone to have a shot. They protect your private property so no one can just come and take your stuff. They ensure the law applies to everyone fairly. They create a level playing field where people have the incentive to work hard, to innovate, and to invest because they know they'll get to enjoy the rewards.
And then you have the complete opposite, extractive economic institutions. These rules aren't designed for the many. They're designed by a small elite for a small elite. Their whole purpose is to funnel wealth and resources from the majority of the population into the hands of a powerful few.
Let's just put them side by side. Under an inclusive system, your property is secure, the law is unbiased, and the market is open for competition. The goal is to grow the whole pie. But under an extractive system, forget it. Property is insecure for most folks, the law is just a tool for the powerful, and markets are rigged with monopolies to make sure no one can challenge the insiders. The goal isn't to grow the pie, it's for the elite to grab the biggest slice they can.
But you might be asking, where do these rules even come from? Well, they come from politics. It's the political process that sets up the economic rules of the game. So, when you have inclusive political institutions where power is spread out, not concentrated in one person's hands, you tend to get inclusive economic institutions. And when you have extractive political institutions where a tiny elite holds all the power, well, you can guess what kind of economic rules they create.
So, if a country is stuck in this extractive trap, how does it ever get out? For one of the best examples in history, we have to look at England, and a dramatic shift that changed not just that country, but the entire world. Now, this wasn't an overnight change. It was a long, messy struggle. The English Civil War in the mid-1600s was a huge shock to the system. But the real game changer was the Glorious Revolution of 1688. This is the moment when power decisively shifted away from an absolute monarch and into the hands of Parliament. And that one political shift lit the fuse for an economic explosion. This is what the authors call a virtuous circle. See how it works? First, the politics became more pluralistic. That new political reality led to more inclusive economic rules. Parliament started protecting property rights for more people, breaking up monopolies, and making it easier to get a loan. And what happened? An explosion of creativity. Inventors and entrepreneurs suddenly had a reason to take risks, sparking the Industrial Revolution. It's a feedback loop. Good politics creates good economics, which in turn supports good politics.
This all sounds fantastic, right? I mean, who wouldn't want prosperity? So why on earth don't all countries just do this? The answer lies in a really powerful concept and a powerful fear of something called creative destruction.
See, real economic growth isn't some calm, gentle process. It's a storm. New technologies come along and completely wipe out old industries. Think about how streaming just destroyed the video rental store. That process is the engine of all progress, but it's also incredibly scary and destabilizing, especially for the people on top of the old system.
Which brings us to the big question. If this process makes the whole country richer in the long run, why would anyone in their right mind try to stop it?
The answer is simple: fear. For the elites in an extractive system, progress is a threat. Creative destruction doesn't just threaten old industries, it threatens their wealth and, even more importantly, their political power. If a new group of entrepreneurs gets rich, they might challenge the old guard for control. So to protect their position, those elites will do everything they can to block innovation and stop progress in its tracks.
And this creates the opposite of a virtuous circle. It creates a vicious circle. And it's a brutal trap. It goes like this. A power-hungry elite controls politics. They use that power to create economic rules that make them rich. They then use that wealth to buy more political power, to crush their opponents, and to make sure those rules never change. The system just feeds on itself, locking countries into a cycle of poverty and oppression.
So, let's pull all of this together. What's the big takeaway here? It's really a complete shift in how we think about the root causes of global poverty.
You can just throw out those old explanations. Poor countries aren't poor because they have bad weather, or because of their culture, or because their leaders are just dumb. No. According to this theory, poor countries are poor because the powerful people in charge want them to be. They are poor by design.
It really all boils down to this powerful idea. It's not the land, it's the laws. It's not nature, it's the man-made rules we put in place that ultimately determine whether a nation thrives or fails.
And you know what? That's actually a really hopeful message. It means poverty isn't some unavoidable destiny. It means prosperity is a choice. It's a very, very difficult political choice, for sure. A choice to break that vicious circle and build a society that works for everyone, not just for the people at the top.
But that leaves us with one final, sobering thought. If it is a choice, and if we know what works, why is making that choice so incredibly hard? Knowing how powerful that vicious circle is, how can societies ever break free from elites who have every single reason to keep things exactly the way they are? That right there is the central struggle that defines so much of our world.